Did the McLennan County Commissioners Court break the law earlier this week? We'll ask Commissioner Kelly Snell about that next here on News Talk 1230, The Talk of Waco. There was, quote, "It was an agreement that the vote that we took in public was a unanimous vote because we don't want to put anybody behind the eight ball that's coming in, and we agreed to do that. We had our private vote in executive session, but, we go with the court's will and the court's desire." The first question, you seem to indicate that there was a vote behind closed doors, which is a violation of open meetings laws. Did that happen?
No, I can tell you, we can't say what happened in executive session, but I can tell you what didn't happen is we didn't have any voting, and it was a poor choice of words. We had a long day. We were trying to get everything done, and I should have stated private deliberations, because that's all we did is deliberate. When this thing started, Shane, before we even took any applications at the forefront, we had a gentleman's agreement, a consensus that we would give all the support we could to the candidates that were chosen to replace these open positions. So the tribune came to me, and I had openly supported Stacey Stone in the newspaper on GOP for me. I said, that's the one that I thought would be a good candidate. But, in the course of deliberations, when we were through and everybody's deliberation had taken place in executive session, and we came out, when people hear people deliberating, they kind of know where the support lies. So, Commissioner Perry made a motion to bring in Scott Felton, and it was seconded and passed. I mean, somebody could have put somebody else up that thought they had it, but, that one passed. And then I think Commissioner Gibson put up Bill Helton, and it was seconded, and it passed. I mean, I could have possibly put Stacey Stone's name up, but why? It wouldn't have got a second.
But so the only reason that whoever motioned for these people to be appointed did that is because, as you mentioned, you knew ahead of time who was going to get the job. You say deliberations, you say you misspoke to the paper, but whether you formally took a vote or not, something had to happen in that closed-door session out of the public light for you guys to agree on a candidate, and isn't that effectively a vote?
Well, I wouldn't think so, Shane, because we don't take a vote. And like I say, if you've got 5 people deliberating, it's pretty easy to tell which, some people that like 3. It all takes 3. 3 votes is the will of the court. So, and all that was done in executive session. And personally, if it was up to me, I would like to have the interviews and everything done in open court. But as our legal advice was, it was best to do all that behind closed doors in executive session, because it did have to do with employees and applicants.
I think the paper also said that was there an attorney in that executive session?
No, we normally don't have attorneys in executive session because, we don't have an actual county attorney. We use an attorney firm, but, when they're there, they're charging the county for it.
Okay.
And Jim's pretty good about keeping the court on the right track.
All right, one other question on the vote or the non-vote or the consensus, and somebody's listening right now, lots of people are listening right now, and what their first reaction is to what you just said is, well, he just changed his word. And I'm not blaming you, you're just the one who was rightly or wrongly upfront to the paper about it, and I have reached out to other commissioners to try to get them on the show, and we'll see if we get some of them on next week. But what somebody hears when you say that it was consensus and that you kind of know which way, what they hear is you guys did something behind closed doors that you weren't allowed to do regardless of what you call it.
Well, and I wouldn't call it a consensus. Like I say, it's deliberation, and when you've got 5 people deliberating about something, a football game or whatever, you can pretty much tell, if there's 3 people that have a similar view.
Okay, and so to figure that out, you had to have made, not you, the court had to have made that decision. There's at some point you realize that a consensus has been reached. reaching that consensus behind closed doors, is that not a violation?
And like I say, I don't know that you'd say it's the consensus. You have deliberation that goes on, and then once everybody's through deliberating, we could have gone out, and we couldn't have got a second on anything. I mean, you don't know until the actual vote's taken. I mean, you're not sitting behind closed doors saying, okay, we got enough. Everybody deliberates. You go out, and if somebody feels like that they felt out of the discussions that happened in there that this person would be the one, and it just so happened that they did, because the first two that came up were voted in.
Well, and that's again,
and second
somebody
is the main thing,
right? But somebody listening is going to say, well, that wasn't just pure coincidence that out of 16 applicants or whatever the number was, that it just so happened that the person that you guys decided on was the first one to come up, and they just so happened to be voted in.
And I think we only had, at the end, there was 3, I think, for judge, and I think there was only 2 for treasurer.
Okay.
That made the final portion of the deliberation after we, because we interviewed, I think, 3 and 2, I think is what it was.
Okay. Kelly Snell's with us. He's one of the county commissioners, Precinct 1, here on News Talk 1230. Let me move to the other issue, and that is this notion that the court wanted to have a unanimous level of support for these new candidates. You mentioned that whoever comes in is going to need the support of the court, and they're going to take on these jobs. Well, one of the guys taking over just left the post 2 years ago. That's Bill Helton for treasurer. The other guy who's taking over as county judge, Scott Felton, has been intimately involved in this community for decades. Why is it necessary to treat these guys as if they are not big enough for the job? What difference does it make whether the vote's 5-0 or 3-2?
Well, when we came to that agreement, it was before we even started with interviews. Who knew who was going to end up there? But we wanted to make sure whoever it was, they didn't go out and campaign. They didn't go out and run for these positions.
They applied for them.
They applied for them out of the will that, hey, they wanted to step up to the plate and do something, and I don't believe any of these that we've chosen have even said anything about running for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to take 2 years, and we're basically, putting them into the office, and then they're going to have to take the reins and run with it. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody at the county knew that the court was totally behind those individuals, that they didn't have, come in with a 3-2 and, there's only 3 people up there that was caring about you. So it's not that. It's just we all have different views and different reasons to have a person in a position.
All right, but I think the bigger question is not necessarily why you needed a unanimous level of support for the person taking the job, but what about the constituents? What about the voters who voted for you or Moshik, or even though he's not running again, or Ben Perry or Lester Gibson or whomever? Don't the voters have a right to know who you supported individually? And you mentioned you would like to have seen somebody else in the job. If let's just say, for the sake of argument, that one of these people really screws up, and we don't expect them to, but let's just say, isn't that a good piece of information for a voter to have, that you did or did not support somebody? Because now if Bill Helton really messes things up, you're on record as having supported him, and then you're going to go back and say, well, I really didn't want him. We just did it for the consensus. Do you see the problem for voters?
Well, I do, but this is a unique situation because, we wouldn't have had this problem had the people that the voters chosen finished their term in their office. And so we're just putting in somebody to replace them and fulfill their term. There may be some really astonishing things that come to light after some of these, after we going down the road and business keeps going. They could do a great job, a mediocre job, or just a fill-in job. But, we vote on everything, and we have a voting record, but when it comes to this particular thing, we just felt that this is a pretty unusual situation as it was, because normally you don't have this many people that do not finish their term, and that's just the decision that we came to on the court on this particular vote. And all other votes, I'm open on and let the constituents know my reasoning for the vote. But on this particular one, when we're replacing an employee, or actually putting in an interim office holder, we just felt that it was good that we were unanimous on the vote. it was a choice that we made to do it at that time. Had we have it to do over again, we may make the same decision or not, but we decided this early on.
All right. Commissioner Kelly Snell, Precinct 1, we appreciate the time. As I said, I have invited a couple of others on, and I'd like to get their take and at least get y'all back on to talk about some of the other business of the county, and we'll do that soon, okay?
Anytime, Shane, and thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Kelly Snell, Commissioner for McLennan County Precinct 1, here with us on the Shane Warner Morning Show. Local politicians use executive sessions for all kinds of crap that you and I should know about. And now they are able to say, well, the attorney says we can't say anything because it was an executive session. Well, that's convenient, isn't it?